Hi, my name is Kimberly Douglas, and this is my leading video. In my leading video, I interviewed a small group of teachers to discuss relevant and effective professional development. I interviewed Ms. Hamblin, she's a 7th grade math teacher, and Coach Akunu, who's an 8th grade social studies teacher. What we talked about was different issues that impact our campus and what types of professional development would be relevant and possibly effective to implement on our campus in order to improve the different issues that we discussed. One of the issues that we addressed and spoke on quite a bit was behavior. And the teachers had similar point of views, but they also had different point of views of what might be needed. There were suggestions about professional development regarding structure in classrooms. We talked about professional development dealing with teaching the kids respect for themselves and for others. We also addressed having professional development for technology, things like lesson planning, curriculum and instruction. We also spoke briefly about the move of education from being fact-based to concept-based, or the move of curriculums from curriculums being fact-based to concept-based. We discussed how a lot of things are just handed to us without any kind of training or professional development, and how whenever districts are coming up with new curriculums or strategies for us to implement, there should always be professional development to ensure the teachers are doing the right things in their classrooms. Both teachers had a lot to contribute. Coach Akunu was very knowledgeable in terms of behavior and the things that might work in the classroom, in terms of what type of professional development workshops we should be offered. Ms. Hamblin, she had pretty much had a lot to say also, and she had a problem with behavior on our campus and different ways that we can address it, and kind of moving away from the old ways of addressing behavior to the new ways, or new ways to address behavior. I thought both teachers were very articulate and pretty much had thought about different things that could possibly do our campus well in terms of professional development opportunities that could be presented on our campus or at our campus. Another thing that we talked about that was very brief was technology, how different things change on campuses, such as our gradebook changed this school year, and we were given a video to watch in order to utilize this gradebook, where we're going to take roll, track attendance, and things of that nature. So I thought that was a pretty good topic to bring up, though we only discussed it briefly. We also discussed professional development for lesson plan writing. As I stated earlier, we didn't delve too far into that, but I would like to say that I think, as someone who has worked in 3 different school districts, I will say that in all of the school districts, I never received any training or professional development in terms of writing lesson plans. And that I find that to be odd, because a lesson plan is a teacher's guide. It's almost like her holy grail or Bible when it comes to presenting lessons to her students. I really think that it's important that a lot of campuses follow the same format in terms of having their lesson plans turned in. I think that it's not a good idea to have several different formats of lesson plans being turned in to evaluators, or evaluators evaluating APs. To me, it best serves the campuses for teachers to be trained in lesson plan writing, so that all of the departments, the teachers, they can kind of be on one accord. To me, it just makes a lot more sense to have one format as opposed to several different formats. And I think it's also important that the district or the campus establishes that format and sets up the training to teach their teachers that format, because I will say my first year teaching, I had not a clue. I did not go to college for education. I actually went to college for history, and teaching was not my first job out of college. Recruiting was actually. I think it would have been extremely beneficial to me to have had some type of training on writing lesson plans and I want to say consistent training, because as things change with the different ways they want you to present lessons to the classroom, I would think that there would need to be ongoing training in terms of lesson plan writing, because um, as time progresses, education changes, different strategies are required, different ways to effectively use instruction time. So I think that whenever they are requiring us to do different things in our classrooms, it's very, very important to give us the proper guide or the proper lesson planning tool, so that new teachers and old teachers alike will have some type of guide to help them write their lessons and to plan effectively and not waste any instruction time. As I said earlier, we did not address that in depth, but I thought that was something that I really needed to address, because I don't really think that people think about the importance of lesson plans. Um, Being that I've had experience working in different districts in different states, I can safely say that there's not really a huge emphasis on lesson plan writing, and I really think that there should be. I would also like to thank Coach Akunu and Ms. Hamlin for having a lot to contribute to the conversation. Coach Akunu, as I stated earlier, he was very, very knowledgeable in terms of behavior when we had the discussion on behavior, in terms of kind of dealing with the kids and, what kind of, I guess, strategies work best with them. And he also, I think some points he made was very informative in terms of talking about that student-teacher interaction and being genuine with the kids, and the kids being able to sense that. Ms. Hamblin, she made a very, very, very great point about being about fluidity and being able to kind of adjust. She made the statement that all kids aren't the same, and what might work for one child might not work for the next. And in this era, I could stand to reason that there are a lot of campuses that are probably having problems with behavior. And I'm not necessarily speaking about extreme behavior that might warrant suspension or expulsion, but just behavior in terms of respect, in terms of responding appropriately to social situations. I think that it would be an excellent thing for districts to address behavior outside of just giving you some strategies and saying, do this. Because as a behavior teacher on my campus, I know that one shoe doesn't fit all. And I know that you have to look at each kid for who he or she is and kind of determine what works best for them. Because what works best for Johnny may not work best for Susie. Today I'm sitting down with a couple of teachers, a math teacher and a social studies teacher, and we are going to discuss recommendations for effective and relevant professional development. I've come up with a couple of questions to kind of, I guess, jog you guys' thinking on things that you think we need to cover on campus, or issues that you think we have on campus that professional development could possibly help with. The first question is, are there any areas on campus that you believe need addressing? Student behavior is one. I would agree.
Anything on campus. I don't know if student behavior, I think is, and I think I addressed this talking to you earlier, I think it's the teachers understanding where the kids are coming from and what type of kids we have and how we can meet them somewhere. I don't know, meet them halfway.
I agree with that. I guess I would say respect, in terms of the kids respecting adults and the kids respecting themselves, and the adults respecting the kids. I think if we could find some type of professional development that provides us a skill set to give the kids the tools to be respectful towards us, toward one another, that would be great.
Yeah, it would be great. It would be difficult because, you know, those are tools that you learn at the home, at the house.
More house training.
So, you know, if a kid has been going through elementary school and hasn't learned how to be respectful towards adults or to their peers, and they come in middle school and they come here, and, you know, it's kind of too late for a teacher. You know, we have to teach all these standards, these state standards to meet the test. We have a timeline for that, so we have to meet that. So we don't have a lot of time to teach a lot of social skills to the kids. So where I think for teachers is they have to find a way to see, okay, if they want to get the best out of the kids, they have to find a way, okay, so how can I meet this kid at a certain place? I can't take this kid from A to Z immediately, but can I take it from A to C or A to D? Make small baby steps. I think if we can find progress in the social skills, small progress, and then we can make headway. I think there are some things that have to be absolutes, you know, talking back to an adult, things like that. But all of the social skills, you know, I don't know if that's more of a teacher thing. I think that's more of a household thing.
Well, it's also hard to go and come back what they're already coming from, because it's a learned behavior. So they see their parent doing the same thing, you know, it's just overall. And so like we said, we have to kind of meet them halfway, kind of know what makes them tick, you know, how can we reach them, and also compromising. It's all about compromising. And just from adult to adult, there's always compromises. So you do the same thing with a child. You know, choices, compromising, stuff like that you need to deal with too.
From a professional development standpoint, I think the best thing for a teacher is to have some type of structure. Because no matter what type of middle school kid you have, whether it's a kid that's respectful, disrespectful, good student, bad student, all middle school kids like to be structured.
Great.
And so if classroom teachers, if they can go to professional development that teaches some type of structure for those kids, that will help alleviate a lot of those problems dealing with behavior.
Well, I think also fluidity in it, because you can't have, to me, this set in stone, I guess, rules. They don't apply to everyone. And certain people need to have certain adjustments. That's just like accommodations.
Yeah.
You know, there's certain behavior accommodations too. You know that one person doesn't care about this, you know, maybe change it up. And I think that's where a lot of teachers come into play. They don't want to compromise. They're not willing to change the rule, you know, and you can't just have that rigid. A lot of people don't work on rigid. A little more lenient, you know. I think if we have professional development, it's teaching different ways to do things. It's not just A or B, you know.
Yeah,
the gray matter in between. Yeah, it's not a black or white.
I think that for the young teachers, the biggest thing for young teachers is they get into the school system and they feel like they have to be something that they're not. If you're not a stern, rigid teacher or personality, you're not a stern, rigid personality, then you can't be a stern, rigid teacher.
Mm-hmm.
You could still have classroom structure and still be yourself. So I think teachers need to formulate their classroom based on their personality. So when you're comfortable with yourself, the kids are comfortable with you and they respect you for that. There's teachers in this school that are rigid, and the kids love them dearly. And there's teachers here that are laid-back personalities like myself, and the kids come to school every day. They work hard. They're organized. So I think if the kids can find a human value in you, and they can find out that you are truly genuine, then the kids will respect you and work for you.
Okay, so maybe a professional development that kind of focuses on adapting your class to your personality.
Exactly.
Because our kids, they can sense when it's not genuine.
Yes.
Oh, definitely.
They can sense it. They don't like it. It's almost like they reject it. I think, too, maybe professional development on cultural awareness. A lot of people like to say they're culturally aware, but that's not always true.
It's not. It's not. I would love, I mean, I live in a district where it's 40-45% Hispanic. I would love to go to professional development that caters to the Hispanic culture, understanding more about the Hispanic culture, and then I get a sense of where they're coming from, what needs they need to be met. And I think if we have more of those type of things, it will help us understand the students.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. I think too. Do you think, in terms of professional development, do you think that certain people should go, or do you think if we should all attend as a campus?
We should all attend, only because there's a lot of people who think that they don't need the help and that it doesn't apply to them. So that everybody gets it and everyone's exposed to it. Yeah. And there's some people who may say, oh, I don't need that, but it might actually be enlightening to them, and when they go, like, oh, I really learned something, But if they close themselves off to it, the whole idea, then they'll never know.
I agree.
And I think the biggest problem with professional development is we have teachers that they go to professional development 1 or 2 weeks, they do the ideas, and they fall back into their usual ways. They fall back into their habits. And I think as administration, there has to be some type of follow-up with the teachers to make sure that they are incorporating these professional development strategies in their classroom to make sure that everybody's following. There's no wasted money in it.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys think about champs? Do you think it would be good if we had more professional development on champs, or if there were new professional development opportunities where there was another, I guess you could say, campus or district-wide behavior program in place? First, let me rephrase.
Yeah.
How effective do you think champs is?
I personally don't use champs. I don't see it effective because every child has their own needs and things, and so if you say don't raise your hand, if you have those kids that are needy, and that raise their hand for everything, or they say don't come to me, but you have some that's cancer still. So I don't think there's a one rule fits all.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be and it shouldn't be that way. And so I personally am not a fan of champs.
I think champs are for teachers that do not have strong personalities.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And I think if the teacher doesn't have a strong personality, they don't have a strong voice where they command respect just off walking into the classroom. And those are the teachers that they need the structure. They need a specific guidelines to organize their classroom. But champs is something, it's so rigid that it doesn't fit everybody's personality. It doesn't fit what everybody else can do. So that's why I go.
Yeah, I agree. Even though my class is a structured class, I find kids react better or react to me better when I'm more caring, not when I'm just like, don't you do these things. There's all these thousands of rules in place. I let the kids know what I want, what I expect, and they do it. Yep. To me, that's what's most important. Coming in my classroom and having them all sit there like they are afraid and quiet, to me, that's not a good relationship. I want a good relationship with my kids.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying? More so than just being able to boss them around. I'm not really a big fan of champs either, and I'm actually the structure teacher on the campus. I think that there needs to be some type of program where it's more user-friendly, where you can adapt it to who you are as a person. Because kids, it's almost like when things aren't genuine, they sniff it out. And it seems like they'll start to peck away at it. You know what I'm saying? Just because they know you're acting fake, so to speak.
And it's fun for kids. I think if you come into the realization that kids like to misbehave, it's fun. Growing up as a kid was fun to mess around, and it was fun. So when you can think about that and you can relax and say, okay, these are middle school kids, they're 13, 14 years old, they're trying to have fun, they're bored with the classwork, and they're trying to do things to pass time. And I think when you can think about that, it makes it's easier to understand it. It's easier to understand the kids. And champs is something that, while the structure means well, like you said, it's just not necessarily for everyone.
I agree. All right, so let's take a turn from behavior. Are there any other areas or any other areas you think we need professional development for?
I would say, the district, time to time, the district have different agendas on how lesson plan writing, how the certain curriculums and things like that. I think we always need technology professional development. With the new technology, like we got a new grade book system. We didn't get professional development on that.
Sure did not.
So it
took, got a video.
It took a while for a lot of teachers to get on board with that. But with technology, you can always have professional development. As far as I would say, but lesson plan writing, things dealing with the curriculum, how to teach certain subjects, how to teach certain TEAC standards, then those we can always use professional development for that.
I agree, and just in pursuing principal certification, we've been studying actual curriculum and instruction, and a lot of it is that the curriculums are moving away from being fact-based to concept-based, and the whole thing is to tie the facts into the concepts, to encourage the kids to utilize higher order thinking skills. I think there needs to be professional development workshops on that. Don't just hand me a Bloom's taxonomy list.
So use these.
And say use these verbs, because it's like you missed the whole concept. If you're not someone who's just out there searching for the new strategy, then you kind of don't know about, like, now they want to focus on the depth and complexity level. And they want you to have kids, they want you to put kids in a place where they can generalize things and they can apply what they learn in one subject across all content. And I think that I shouldn't be the only one exposed simply because I'm pursuing principal certification. I feel like if the face of education or the way we're doing things, if it's changing nationwide, there should be professional development workshops consistently. Because if not, then it's like we're not embracing the change. We're talking about it. And then it shouldn't just be the instructional leaders who know. It should be the teachers, because the instructional leaders aren't in the classroom.
Well, also, I feel like every time they come up with something new, you say, just do it. You have to do it. This is what you're doing now. And they want it done overnight. And especially if you're talking about a whole different way of teaching that's not natural to you, then it's not fair. Almost a disservice to the kids because it's not natural. And the kids, like you said, the kids know it's not natural. So it doesn't... They're kind of like awkward with it. You're awkward with it. If I'm a person that likes to do games and like to do, this more interactive stuff, if you're telling me to do, for example, there's nothing but worksheets, it's going to be hard for me. Or vice versa. If you tell me I like to talk, if you tell me not to talk at all, that's going to be really hard. And so it shouldn't be like that black and white. Like they always, to me, it's always one way or another. That's it. There's no medium, Maybe instead of incorporating one way with another, we could do that. We have professional development doing that, showing how to integrate everything, not just do this.
I agree.
Yeah, and I think worried about the administration is worried about the process, and not worried about the result. Let teachers do what they know how to do best. That fits their personality, that fits their style of teaching. If they're not getting results, then you have the right as the administrator to come in and say, okay, look, we have this workshop, we have this professional development. I think you need to get your scores up or to get your grades up. But if you're bringing in results on a year-to-year basis, and I think the administration needs to back off those people because they're doing their job, and obviously what they're doing is working. So there's no need for that. To force everybody to do something, I don't think that is necessary.
I agree. I think if you're going to make people adjust or do certain things, then you should base it off their scores. Because if I'm achieving success, why would you change what I'm doing? If it's not broke, don't fix it. So I agree with that. Now, I want y'all to tell me how important do you think professional development is to teacher growth?
I don't think it's important, but I don't think it's the most important thing to teacher growth. I think experience is the most important thing to teacher growth. Experience with students, first and foremost, getting to know the students, learning who they are. And I think I learned most of my things from my fellow teachers. I pattern a lot of my lessons, I pattern the way I teach based off what I've heard, what I've learned from my fellow teachers. I learn more from them than I'll learn from any other professional development because they've been there before. I've seen it. I've seen their results. I know what the end result is because I know what they're doing. So I'm trying to get to their level, and that's helping more than any other professional development. Does it help? Yeah, sure. It can't hurt. But learning new ideas, learning new strategies, it could never hurt. You're learning, you're growing as a teacher. But the most important thing in my career thus far was my experience with the students and my experience with my fellow staff.
Yeah, I don't think it's, like I said, it's not the most important thing. It doesn't hurt. And I don't think that it should be just all about that. Like you said, the experience is that's where you learn. Just in life, People can tell you everything, but until you experience it, you won't know the true fact. So the same thing, I think, works in the classroom.
I agree. Well, today I sat down with Coach Akuna and Ms. Hamblin, and we discussed professional development and different ideas for professional development for our campus. Hi, this is Kimberly Douglas again, and this is the reflection for my leading video. Again, I'd like to let you know that we talked about effective and relevant professional development on our campus and the issues that warrant the professional development that we thought would be great for our campus. In the video, I spoke with Coach Akunu, who happens to be an 8th grade social studies teacher. He would be the relatable teacher out of the group. He tends to have excellent relationships with students. They like him a whole lot. He's the teacher where kids just want to go to his room just to be around him. So I think his opinion was very, very valuable because he's not the teacher with the kids in the room, I guess, who can't control the kids. Just in me going in Coach Akunu's room on the occasions that I've gone in there, the kids love him. They respond to him. And what one might consider chaotic in one classroom, in his classroom, that's kind of how they vibe. Again, Coach Akunu is a very young teacher. He's in his 20s, so he's going to be a lot more relatable than other teachers. Say a teacher like me who happens to be in her late 30s. I'm going to require a lot of more structure, and I'm a behavior teacher. All the kids in my room are labeled emotionally disturbed, so it's very, very important that there is an immense amount of structure. I think it's also very important that I give my kids the freedom to grow. Not necessarily freedom to do whatever they want to, but just a certain level of freedom so my classroom doesn't feel like a jail. Miss Hamblin, she's the 7th grade math teacher, and she brought up behavior. And as a 7th grade teacher on a middle school campus, she gets what I like to call the babies. They're the newbies. They're the kids who are just making it from intermediate, trying to figure out who they are. So you are probably going to have some behavior issues because these kids, they really haven't learned the rules yet. Now, in end of the year around this time, the kids have somewhat adjusted, but you're still going to have those slight behavior issues because you have the kids trying to figure out who they are and, who they are in the school. So I think 7th graders tend to be a little bit more trying. Now, once kids reach the 8th grade, they're on their way to high school. They're a little bit more mature. They know the rules and they kind of know the teachers. So they know a little bit more about how far they can and cannot go. So when you think about it in that sense, I would think that Coach Akunu more than likely has the kids that know the rules and kind of have figured the school out, figured the teachers out, figured the administrators out. So they kind of know how to navigate through middle school. They know what teachers they can and cannot try and what teachers command respect and that they have to give it to them. Again, we briefly touched on professional development and lesson plan writing and curriculum. Coach Akunu also mentioned professional development for technology. We had a brief conversation about the new grade book that was introduced on our campus, and we were given a video in order to learn how to utilize the grade book. And all of us all of us was in consensus in terms of it probably would have gone over better maybe if we had been given a campus professional development the first week of school before the kids came back. I think that would have been an excellent thing to be trained on. Therefore, you wouldn't have had so many teachers having hiccups the first time progress reports went out because they were somewhat confused about how to navigate through the new grade book and how to how to put grades in and things of that nature. I really think that this was an interesting video. Both teachers had a lot to contribute. And I think that both teachers were heartfelt. I don't believe that they were, I guess you could say, putting on for the video. I really think that the perspectives that they brought to the video, they are those genuine people. In terms of behavior, I really think that's an excellent topic to address because I'm willing to bet there are a lot of campuses with behavior issues on them, specifically middle school, because that 12 through 14 age group, that tween to teenager age group, they're trying to find themselves and they're kind of testing everybody to see how far they can and cannot go. I think it behooves all school districts to train their teachers effectively in behavior. It's pretty much impossible to have an effective instructional environment if you're consistently having to deal with behavior. So I think giving teachers the tools to effectively deal with behavior limits the amount of instruction time that's donated to correcting kids who are misbehaving. Um, so to wrap it up, we did discuss professional development for behavior, professional development for technology, professional development for lesson plan writing, and professional development for curriculum and instruction. I also brought up about the move of curriculums going from being fact-based to concept-based. I talked about how I'm exposed to it because I'm currently pursuing principal certification, but I thought that it wasn't a good thing that a lot of teachers aren't aware, and they're the ones in the classroom providing the instruction and using the curriculum to provide that instruction. So I think that teachers would be best served with professional development that keeps them on par with the changes that are coming down the pipeline in education. I would really like to thank the two teachers who participated in my leading video. I am very grateful that they brought a lot to the table. They had a lot to say, and they were very articulate in the things that they had to say. They articulated their points very well. I really also appreciate them having excellent ideas for professional development. I know that behavior is a topic that's consistently addressed, but the reality of the matter is behavior is still an issue across campuses in our country. I really think that a genuine effort needs to be put forth to organize a professional development that effectively addresses behavior and not strategies that just sound good or look good on paper. Again, my name is Kimberly Douglas, and this is my leading video. Hi, this is another part of my leading video. I decided to add another video that I did with a science teacher named Miss Adeoti. She's a 7th grade science teacher. She's the current teacher of the month. I thought her perspective would enhance my leading video. In my leading video, of course, we did discuss relevant and effective professional development that would be great for our campus. And one of the things that we talked about in length was behavior. And in my interview with Miss Adeoti, where we talked about school culture, one of the things that she brought up was a reward system. a uniform reward system, and I thought that that was an excellent idea. I also think that maybe implementing a uniform reward system and possibly having a professional development to ensure effective or correct implementation would be excellent. I added this video because when we were discussing behavior and trying to come up with different strategies to address that behavior and professional development to teach the teachers those strategies, none of us really thought about a uniform reward system. And I just thought that that was an excellent idea, and I thought that I needed to add this video because it was actually a solution to a problem that we all were discussing. Um, I do think a uniform reward system would be an excellent thing for our campus. I just think that it would take a lot of work and creativity. I think giving kids pencils and stickers at middle school age, the kids are too old for things of that nature, and I don't think that they would work for things like that. In the video, we mostly address school culture, and that's how the lack of a reward system or the lack of a reward when kids do right was discussed. I just thought that it was a great thing to add this video to my leading video because she actually presented a solution, a viable solution that is um, I think it would be easy implementation. I think the hard part would be actually coming up with creative ideas for the rewards. Because I think that is very important that we stay away from rewards that you would give a 9-year-old child. I don't think that stickers and good job works for a 13-year-old. Ms. Adiotti also briefly addressed having a certain comfort level with administrators so you're able to talk to them about certain issues and problems you might be having in the classroom. And she also made the suggestion of maybe just having a social gathering or like a social night where it's kind of an environment where people kind of let their hair down, so to speak, and get to know one another. So it facilitates a relationship where you feel comfortable going to your superior in the workplace. I think that professional development where it provides the teachers with the tools to develop positive and productive relationships would be excellent. I think that's a professional development that should be shown the first week of school because as a teacher, you are consistently interacting with other people. So it would behoove one to be someone who was great at facilitating relationships, whether they be with adults or with children. I think that the things that Ms. Adiotti had to say were very enlightening, and I thought that it was important to add this video on to my participating video because, and like I stated earlier, Ms. Adiotti had actually come up with a solution. I think a uniform reward system would be excellent, as I stated earlier also. I just think that it's going to require some creativity to come up with rewards that the kids will be receptive to and would want to work hard for. Again, this is an addition to my leading video. Thank you. This is an interview with Ms. Adiotti. She's a science teacher on our campus. Okay, if you had to list some things about school culture and climate that impact teaching and learning, what would they be?
The rapport with your students, your personal, like staff rapport with administrators, and I would also throw in there the consequences as well as what type of reward systems are put in place.
Okay.
I think all of those things could affect the school culture.
So we currently use CHIP. How effective do you think that is in your classroom?
I think for teachers who use it a lot, for instance, I do enforce champs a lot, that is very useful. But as far as the reward system that is tied with it, they never really gave us what do you do when they do follow. So
procedures that you put in place. There's no really reward system that's put with it. It's just your conversation level, your health, your activity, the movement participation. But on the flip side, what do they get when they do that? It's their type of, for students as well, they want to know what are they going to get from following those directions.
Okay, so one could assume that they kind of want you to like come up with your own reward system. Okay, and you think it would probably be beneficial if the reward system was like uniform?
If it was consistent in teachers' classrooms, then I think it would be a little bit easier for the students, because then they know, okay, if we do this, this is what we're going to get. Whereas in one class, they know they're going to get awarded bucks if they do well, versus in Miss R's class, if we do it, we don't get it. So why bother?
Okay. So if you were making recommendations in terms of school culture requirement, like you talked about the report with the students, report with the administrators, and the campus-wide consequences and reward system, what would be your recommendation?
As far as report with students, I would say all teachers have just kind of how we do the mentor-mentee type of situation, but more so with their students, so that they can build that relationship with their students. Same thing with staff. Sometimes some of the staff members you may feel are intimidating. So there's certain issues that you want to bring up, but you don't feel comfortable bringing up to them. So maybe some type of social gathering where you get to know the administrators, feel a little bit more comfortable bringing things up to them. Because I think it's a little intimidating sometimes. Oh, that's the principal. I don't want to say that because they may look at me.
Exactly. Thank you, Miss Ariadne. She was really quick. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right.
I hope I helped.